Hello, and thanks for joining Prism English.
For centuries, human beings have asked themselves one question: what matters more in life, love or money? This question does not belong to one culture, one generation, or one country. It is universal. From the smallest village to the largest city, from ancient times to modern life, people have debated, argued, and even fought over this timeless dilemma. Love and money seem to stand on opposite sides. Love is about the heart, feelings, emotions, passion, and connection. Money is about the mind, logic, survival, safety, and comfort. Yet, in real life, the two are often tangled together. Imagine a young woman named Elena. She falls in love with a man named David. He comes from a wealthy family, while she comes from a modest background. Their love is strong, pure, and innocent. But his parents disapprove. They see her as someone who will take away his future. For David's family, love is not enough. They believe that money, reputation, and power are more important than emotions. Elena faces a heavy decision. If she stays with David, he may lose his inheritance, his family support, and the comfortable life he has always known. If she leaves him, she will break her own heart, and his. Torn between love and money, she writes him a letter, a goodbye letter. Her story is fictional, but it is also very real. Thousands of people have lived the same moment. Perhaps you know someone like Elena. Perhaps you are Elena. This question, love or money, is not only about relationships. It is about the way we choose to live our lives. Should we follow the voice of the heart, even if it leads us into storms? Or should we follow the path of money, even if it means silence in the heart? Some people believe love conquers all. Others argue that without money, love will eventually fade under the pressure of reality. But which side is true? As we begin this journey together, we will explore both sides of the argument. We will look at love with all its beauty and fragility. We will examine money with all its power and limits. And finally, we will try to discover whether there is a balance between them or whether we must always choose. So let me ask you, dear listener, if you had to decide today, what would you choose? Love or money?
Money is powerful. It is not just paper or numbers on a screen. It is freedom, opportunity, and security. With money, people can travel, study, build, and protect their families. Without money, even the simplest dreams can seem impossible. Think about a man named Carlos. He grew up in poverty, in a neighborhood where people struggled just to pay rent. From a young age, he promised himself, "One day, I will never let money control my life." He worked day and night, studied hard, and eventually became a successful businessman. He now lives in a luxurious apartment, drives expensive cars, and travels the world. From the outside, it seems like money has given him everything. But Carlos carries a secret. Inside his heart, he feels a quiet emptiness. He remembers a woman named Sophia, his first love. When he was young and poor, she believed in him. She laughed with him when they had nothing. She dreamed with him when life was uncertain. But when he started chasing success, he pushed her away. He told himself, "I'll come back when I'm rich enough, when I can give her everything she deserves." Years later, when he finally found her again, it was too late. She had married someone else. She had chosen love over waiting for wealth. Carlos had money, but not the one person who made him feel alive. This story shows us the weight of money. It can buy many things, but it cannot buy time, loyalty, or the heart of another human being. Money may open doors, but it cannot guarantee happiness inside those doors. Still, we cannot deny the truth. Money matters. Without it, people suffer. Families argue. Dreams are delayed. A couple in love may begin with laughter, but if bills pile up, stress can break the bond. Love is beautiful, but love alone cannot pay rent or put food on the table. So, here lies the paradox. Money cannot buy love, yet love often struggles without money. It is like a dance, two forces pulling and pushing, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in conflict. Philosophers, poets, and even economists have argued about this. Some say money is only a tool, and love gives life meaning. Others say love is fragile, and money provides the foundation for it to grow. Both are right, and both are wrong. Carlos's regret teaches us something important. When chasing money, do not lose sight of what your heart truly values. For in the end, money may fill your hands, but love fills your soul. So I ask you again, would you rather hold a wallet full of cash or the hand of someone who truly loves you? Love is fragile. It is like a flame, warm, beautiful, but also vulnerable. A small storm, a little neglect, or too much pressure can cause it to fade. Yet, despite its fragility, people still chase it, protect it, and sacrifice everything for it. Let's imagine a young couple, Anna and Michael. They met in college when both of them had nothing but dreams. Michael played guitar in small cafes, while Anna studied literature and worked part-time in a bookstore. They had no money, but they had each other. Their evenings were filled with laughter, their mornings with hope. But as the years passed, reality arrived. Rent, bills, and responsibilities started to pile up. Michael wanted to follow his passion for music, but gigs paid almost nothing. Anna wanted to support him, but she also felt the heavy pressure of financial insecurity. When their fridge was empty, love did not cook dinner. When their landlord knocked at the door, love did not pay the rent. One night, after a long argument, Anna asked, "Michael, do you love me enough to let go of your dream?" He answered softly, "Anna, do you love me enough to live with this struggle?" Silence filled the room. Both realized the truth. Love alone was not enough. They loved each other deeply, but the weight of money pressed harder each day. Slowly, the flame that once burned brightly began to weaken. Not because their love was fake, but because life demanded more than feelings. This story is not uncommon. Around the world, many couples face the same test. Love can inspire people to endure hardship, but hardship can also destroy love. Some relationships survive storms and grow stronger. Others break under pressure, leaving behind only memories. Here lies the fragility of love. It is powerful enough to move mountains, yet delicate enough to be crushed by unpaid bills. Some people say, if it is true love, it will survive anything. But reality whispers a different truth. Love needs support, stability, and sometimes even money to stay alive. And yet, despite its weakness, love remains the reason we wake up each morning. People who lose money may recover. People who lose status may rise again. But people who lose true love often carry that emptiness for life. Anna and Michael's story is a reminder. Love without money is hard, but money without love is empty. So, once again, we face the question, should we protect love even when it is fragile? Or should we choose money for safety, even as it costs us our hearts? Money often creates an illusion. It looks like the ultimate solution, the answer to every problem. With money, we can eat at fine restaurants, wear beautiful clothes, travel to distant lands. People admire us, respect us, even envy us. But beneath the glitter, wealth can sometimes hide emptiness. Consider the story of Julia. She was born into a rich family, surrounded by luxury from the day she opened her eyes. She studied in the best schools, wore designer clothes, and drove expensive cars before she even had a job. Everyone thought she must be the happiest girl in the world. Yet Julia often sat alone at night, staring out of her window. Her parents were too busy building empires to spend time with her. Friends came and went, most of them attracted by her wealth, not by who she truly was. She could buy anything she wanted, except genuine love. One day, she met Daniel, a young man who worked as a teacher. He was kind, funny, and thoughtful. For the first time, Julia felt someone saw her, not her money, not her status, but her soul. She fell deeply in love. But soon, whispers began. Her friends laughed. "A teacher? He can't give you the life you deserve." Her parents frowned. "Julia, love won't protect you when life gets hard. Think carefully." Julia now stood at a crossroads. If she followed her heart, she would disappoint her family and risk her comfortable lifestyle. If she chose money and security, she would betray her own feelings. Her story shows us the illusion of wealth. To outsiders, money looks like happiness. But inside, many wealthy people feel lonely, even trapped. They may sleep on silk sheets, but cry in silence. They may wear diamonds, yet long for a simple touch of genuine care. The world often tells us money will solve everything. But the truth is different. Money can remove discomfort, but it cannot create meaning. It can buy attention, but not affection. It can build a house, but not a home. Julia's dilemma is the same one many face, rich or poor. Should we choose the illusion of wealth or the risk of love? Sometimes people choose money and live in golden cages. Others choose love and walk into storms. Neither path is easy. So the question remains, is wealth worth it if your heart stays empty? Or is love worth it if your wallet stays light? Life is rarely black or white. Often, love and money meet in complicated, messy ways. Sometimes they strengthen each other. Sometimes they destroy each other. The truth is, many people are not simply choosing between love or money. They are trying to find a way to live with both. Let's imagine Ethan and Lily. Ethan grew up in an average family, hardworking but not rich. Lily came from wealth, but unlike Julia from our earlier story, she didn't let it define her. When Ethan and Lily met, their worlds collided. He admired her kindness. She admired his determination. They fell in love quickly. At first, money did not matter. They were lost in the glow of new love, walking under the rain, sharing ice cream, whispering dreams. But as their relationship grew, reality entered. Lily's parents worried, "Can Ethan give you the life you deserve?" Ethan's pride whispered, "What if I can't provide enough?" The tension grew. Ethan worked extra hours, trying to prove himself. He bought expensive gifts he couldn't afford. Lily noticed the exhaustion in his eyes. One evening, she held his hand and said, "Ethan, I don't love you for your money. I love you for who you are." But Ethan shook his head. "Lily, love is not enough if I can't stand beside you as an equal." This is where love meets money, in the battlefield of self-worth. Love says, "You are enough." Money says, "Prove it." Many relationships break here, not because love is absent, but because pride, insecurity, and social pressure grow too heavy. And yet, some couples find balance. They learn that money is a tool, not a measure of love. They build trust, share burdens, and face struggles together. For them, money becomes a partner, not an enemy of love. Ethan and Lily's story teaches us something powerful. Love does not always die because of money, but it can die because of fear and comparison. If both partners learn to see money as part of life, not as the definition of life, then love can survive and even grow stronger. So, perhaps the real question is not love or money, but how can love and money live together? Can two hearts find balance between romance and reality? Can we love without losing ourselves to financial pressure and earn money without losing our hearts? This, dear listener, is the challenge of modern life, not choosing one over the other, but learning how both can coexist without destroying the flame of love.
Every choice in life comes with a price. When we choose love, sometimes we sacrifice comfort and stability. When we choose money, sometimes we sacrifice passion and intimacy. The question is, which sacrifice can we live with, and which one will haunt us forever? Let's meet Sarah and Thomas. Sarah came from a poor family, but her smile could light up a room. Thomas was a young lawyer with a promising career. They fell in love quickly, and at first, nothing else mattered. They dreamed of building a life together, no matter the challenges. But then reality knocked. Thomas received an offer to work abroad with a salary 10 times higher than his current job. It was his chance to build wealth, reputation, and success. But if he accepted, he would have to leave Sarah behind. Sarah, with tears in her eyes, said, "Thomas, I don't need luxury. I just need you." But Thomas whispered back, "Sarah, I can't give you the life you deserve if I stay." He chose the job. Sarah let him go. Years later, Thomas had everything: money, recognition, a house filled with expensive furniture. But every night, when he poured himself a glass of wine, he thought of Sarah's smile. He had sacrificed love for money, and the weight of that decision followed him everywhere. Sacrifice is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is silent. A man stays in a loveless marriage because of financial security. A woman gives up her career to support her partner's dream. A couple abandons their passion because survival demands stability. Every decision we make, whether for love or for money, carries invisible costs. But here is the truth. Regret often grows from the sacrifices we did not truly believe in. If we give up love unwillingly, the heart remembers. If we give up money unwillingly, the mind reminds us.
The balance between heart and mind is fragile, and once broken, it leaves scars. Sarah and Thomas's story reminds us that sacrifice is inevitable, but we must choose carefully what we are willing to lose. For in the end, love and money are not just about gaining, but also about what we give up along the way. So, dear listener, ask yourself, if life forced you to sacrifice one, love or money, what would you choose to let go of? And, more importantly, could you live with that choice for the rest of your life?
There is a hidden truth many people overlook. Happiness is not always about having more. Sometimes it is about being content with enough. When love and money exist together in harmony, not too little, not too much, life feels lighter, freer, and more meaningful. Let's look at Emma and Jacob. They were not rich, but they were not poor either. Jacob worked as a mechanic, Emma as a school teacher. They had a small house, a second-hand car, and just enough savings for emergencies. To outsiders, their life seemed ordinary, maybe even boring, but inside that small house was something rare: peace. Every evening, Jacob would fix dinner while Emma graded her students' papers. They would laugh about small things, share stories, and talk about dreams. On weekends, they would go for walks in the park, holding hands as if they were still young lovers. One day, Emma's friend asked her, "Don't you ever wish Jacob made more money? Don't you want a bigger house, fancy vacations, or new clothes?" Emma smiled and replied, "I already have more than enough. I have love, laughter, and a life without fear. Why should I trade peace for pressure?" This is the power of contentment. Many people chase wealth endlessly, only to discover that the more they have, the more they want. Desire is infinite, but when we learn to say, "This is enough," love becomes stronger, money becomes a tool, not a master. Of course, this does not mean money is unimportant. If Emma and Jacob lost their jobs, their peace would be tested. But their story shows us that balance is possible. A simple life filled with love and enough money to cover needs can often be happier than a rich life filled with emptiness. The modern world constantly tells us more is better, bigger is better, richer is better. But the quiet truth is different. Happiness often comes from gratitude, not from abundance. The heart does not measure joy in dollars, but in moments. So perhaps the real secret is not to choose between love or money, but to choose contentment, appreciating love when it is present and using money wisely when it is available. When we stop comparing ourselves to others, both love and money begin to feel lighter. Emma and Jacob's life is not a fairy tale. They still argue, still worry about bills, still face challenges. But because they have chosen contentment, they carry those struggles with laughter and love. So, dear listener, let me ask you, in your own life, do you chase more, or do you already have enough? There is a hidden truth many people overlook. Happiness is not always about having more. Sometimes it is about being content with enough. When love and money exist together in harmony, not too little, not too much, life feels lighter, freer, and more meaningful. Let's look at Emma and Jacob. They were not rich, but they were not poor either. Jacob worked as a mechanic.
Emma as a school teacher. They had a small house, a second-hand car, and just enough savings for emergencies. To outsiders, their life seemed ordinary, maybe even boring. But inside that small house was something rare: peace. Every evening, Jacob would fix dinner while Emma graded her students' papers. They would laugh about small things, share stories, and talk about dreams. On weekends, they would go for walks in the park, holding hands as if they were still young lovers. One day, Emma's friend asked her, "Don't you ever wish Jacob made more money? Don't you want a bigger house, fancy vacations, or new clothes?" Emma smiled and replied, "I already have more than enough. I have love, laughter, and a life without fear. Why should I trade peace for pressure?" This is the power of contentment. Many people chase wealth endlessly, only to discover that the more they have, the more they want. Desire is infinite. But when we learn to say, "This is enough," love becomes stronger. Money becomes a tool, not a master. Of course, this does not mean money is unimportant. If Emma and Jacob lost their jobs, their peace would be tested. But their story shows us that balance is possible. A simple life filled with love and enough money to cover needs can often be happier than a rich life filled with emptiness. The modern world constantly tells us more is better, bigger is better, richer is better. But the quiet truth is different. Happiness often comes from gratitude, not from abundance. The heart does not measure joy in dollars, but in moments. So perhaps the real secret is not to choose between love or money, but to choose contentment, appreciating love when it is present, and using money wisely when it is available. When we stop comparing ourselves to others, both love and money begin to feel lighter. Emma and Jacob's life is not a fairy tale. They still argue, still worry about bills, still face challenges. But because they have chosen contentment, they carry those struggles with laughter and love. So, dear listener, let me ask you, in your own life, do you chase more or do you already have enough? If money is a tool, then greed is the hand that misuses it. Love and money can coexist peacefully, but when greed enters the picture, everything begins to crumble. Greed turns money from a helper into a master, from a blessing into a curse. Let's imagine Victor, a successful entrepreneur. He married Clara, a woman full of warmth and kindness. In the early days, they lived modestly but happily. Victor often said, "As long as I have you, Clara, I need nothing else." But as his business grew, so did his hunger for more. One deal led to another, one profit to the next. Soon his evenings disappeared into meetings, his weekends into phone calls, his heart into numbers. Clara waited at home, but Victor no longer saw her. One night, Clara asked, "Victor, when will you have enough?" He answered quickly, "Soon, just one more project, one more contract, then we'll rest." But soon never came. Each success made him want more. Each dollar fed his pride. And slowly, love faded. Not because Victor stopped loving Clara, but because greed had taken his attention, his time, his soul. This is the danger of greed. It blinds us. It whispers, "More will make you happy," but it never tells us when to stop. People sacrifice marriages, friendships, even their health, all for the illusion of endless wealth. And when they finally reach the top, they look around and find themselves alone. Greed not only corrupts money, it also poisons love. A relationship built on trust can be broken by suspicion. Do they love me or my wealth? A family built on unity can be destroyed by inheritance disputes. A heart once full of love can become consumed by fear of losing possessions. But here is the irony. People who are greedy for money often lose both money and love. They may earn riches but spend it on lawyers, divorces, or loneliness. They may fill their bank accounts but empty their hearts. Victor's story is a warning. Love and money are not enemies until greed enters. When money becomes the purpose of life, love becomes a shadow. So ask yourself, do you control money or does money control you? Do you use money to support love or do you sacrifice love to serve money? For in the end, greed promises everything, but takes away the one thing we truly need: connection.
While greed can destroy, true love can endure. Real love is not blind. It sees struggles, imperfections, and limits, yet it chooses to stay. It does not ignore the weight of money, but it refuses to let money be the master. Consider Mia and Daniel. They met during difficult times. Daniel had lost his job, and Mia worked 2 part-time shifts just to keep food on the table. Friends told Mia, "You should leave him. He can't give you stability." But she shook her head and said, "I didn't choose Daniel for his wallet. I chose him for his heart." Life tested them. There were nights when they had only bread for dinner, days when bills piled up on the kitchen counter. Yet every time Daniel felt hopeless, Mia held his hand and whispered, "We will get through this together." Years later, Daniel found stable work, then slowly built his career again. Looking back, he often told Mia, "Your love was my strength when I had nothing. Without you, I would have lost not just my job, but my will to fight." This is the strength of true love. It gives courage in moments of despair, and it reminds us of our worth when the world measures us by money. True love is not about ignoring reality, but about facing reality together. Of course, love cannot erase hunger or pay debts, but love can inspire resilience. Couples who truly love each other often endure storms that others cannot. They sacrifice together, fight together, and in the process, their bond grows stronger than wealth alone could ever provide. Philosophers say love is the greatest wealth because it multiplies when shared. Unlike money, it does not decrease when given. It grows. A heart that loves deeply can turn even a small meal into a feast, even a simple house into a home. Yet true love requires more than passion. It requires patience, sacrifice, and the ability to see beyond circumstances. Many people mistake attraction for love, but real love is tested not in sunshine, but in storms. Mia and Daniel's story is proof. Love may not solve every problem, but it gives us the strength to face them. And sometimes that strength is more valuable than money itself. So, dear listener, let me ask you, if tomorrow you lost all your wealth, who would still stand beside you? That person, the one who stays when you have nothing, is your true treasure. After hearing so many stories of sacrifice, greed, contentment, and true love, one truth becomes clear. Most people are not searching for only love or only money.
What they truly want is balance, a life where the heart feels alive and the body feels secure. Think about it. A marriage without love is like a house without warmth, cold, silent, and empty. A marriage without money is like a house without a roof, fragile, unstable, and exposed to storms. We need both to feel complete. Let's meet Olivia and Mark. They were not perfect, but they understood balance. Mark worked as an engineer. Olivia ran a small bakery. They were not rich, but they were not struggling either. Some months were tight, some months were comfortable. But through it all, they practiced one rule. Decisions must honor both love and money. When Mark wanted to buy a new car, Olivia asked, "Will this bring us joy or just debt?" When Olivia dreamed of expanding her bakery, Mark asked, "Will this bring us peace or too much pressure?" Together, they chose wisely, not always perfectly, but always with balance in mind. As the years passed, their life was not full of luxury, but full of meaning. They had arguments, like every couple, but they learned not to let money become a weapon. They had love, like many couples, but they never let it blind them from reality. This is the balance we all seek. Enough money to live without constant fear, enough love to live without constant emptiness. It is not about choosing one over the other, but about allowing both to exist side by side. The problem is society often pushes us toward extremes. Movies tell us to choose love and forget everything else. Business culture tells us to chase money and leave love for later. But real life is not a movie, and it is not a business plan. Real life is a dance between the heart and the wallet, between dreams and duties. Balance does not mean perfection. Sometimes money will take priority, sometimes love will. Sometimes we save, sometimes we spend. Sometimes we sacrifice, sometimes we indulge. But if the core is respect and understanding, then balance is possible. Olivia and Mark show us that balance is not a miracle, it is a choice practiced every day. And perhaps that is the answer to the eternal question, not love or money, but love and money in harmony. So I ask you, dear listener, are you searching for extremes or are you building balance? For maybe the richest life is not the one with the most money or the most passion, but the one where both walk hand in hand.
Time has a way of teaching us what truly matters. In youth, many chase passion, believing love is enough to conquer the world. In middle age, many chase stability, believing money will secure happiness. And in old age, people often look back, not at the wealth they earned, but at the relationships they kept or lost. Consider Mr. Harris, an elderly man living in a quiet village. He had once been a successful banker, known for his sharp mind and growing fortune. He spent decades chasing numbers, building accounts, and climbing ladders. He provided his family with luxury, big houses, cars, vacations, but along the way, he lost something. His wife, lonely from years of neglect, passed away before he had time to slow down. His children grew distant, tired of competing with his career for attention. And now, in his 80s, Mr. Harris sits by the window each evening, looking not at his bank statements, but at old photographs. One day, a young neighbor asked him, "Mr. Harris, what is the secret to a happy life? Love or money?" The old man smiled sadly and said, "Money can build walls, but only love fills the rooms inside. I learned too late that you can always earn more dollars, but you cannot buy back lost time." This is the lesson of time. Money may seem urgent, but love is what becomes important. People rarely whisper on their deathbed, "I wish I had earned more." Instead, they whisper, "I wish I had loved more."
forgiven more, and spent more time with those who mattered. But let us not misunderstand. Money is not the enemy. It is necessary, useful, and powerful. What time teaches us is not to abandon money, but to put it in its rightful place, as a servant, not a master. When money serves love, life feels rich. When love serves money, life feels empty. The stories of Mr. Harris and countless others remind us that time is the most valuable currency. You can lose money and earn it again. You can lose status and rebuild it. But once time is gone, it never returns. So, dear listener, perhaps the question is no longer simply love or money, but rather, how will you spend your time with those you love or in pursuit of wealth you may never enjoy? Because in the end, time answers the question for us, and its answer is always the same. Love endures longer than gold.
As Emma walked home under the dim city lights, her mind was restless. She had seen what money could buy: comfort, luxury, security. But she had also seen how fragile it all was when compared to something deeper, something invisible yet powerful: love. Her phone buzzed. A message. It was from Daniel. "Emma, I know I've made mistakes. I chased money too hard, and I almost lost myself. But tonight, when I saw you with that family, I realized something. Wealth can buy many things, but it can't buy a pure heart. It can't buy the way you smile when you help someone, and it can't buy the way you make people feel less alone. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose you." Emma's heart pounded. She read the words again and again. At that very moment, her doorbell rang. She opened the door, and there stood Daniel, not in his expensive suit, not with his usual polished confidence, but simple, vulnerable, holding nothing but a small notebook. "I sold the watch," Daniel said quietly. "The one that cost more than a year of someone's salary. I gave the money to that family. And this notebook," he handed it to her, "is where I've written what really matters to me. Not business plans, not deals, just my truth." Emma flipped through the pages. They were filled with sketches, notes, memories, moments Daniel had shared with her, words he had never spoken aloud. For the first time, Emma saw a man who wasn't defined by money, but by his willingness to change. Tears welled in her eyes. "Daniel, you don't need to prove anything with money. I only needed to know that your heart was real." Daniel took her hand, his voice trembling. "Then let me ask you, one last time, not as a man of wealth, but as a man who has learned the cost of emptiness. Emma, will you choose me, not for what I have, but for who I am?" The silence between them was thick, fragile, alive. Emma knew her answer would define both their lives. She whispered softly, almost like a secret carried by the night wind. "Yes." Daniel closed his eyes, relief washing over him. It wasn't the victory of winning someone, but the salvation of finally becoming himself. In that moment, Emma realized the real choice was never between love and money. The real choice was between living a life that looked full and living a life that truly was. And so, she chose love. In the end, the debate between love and money is not about choosing one and abandoning the other. It is about learning how to balance them, how to give them their right place in life. Money can build a house, but only love can turn it into a home. Money can buy medicine, but only love can bring true healing. Money can open doors of opportunity, but only love can give those opportunities meaning. If we live only for money, we may end up rich in our bank accounts, but poor in our hearts. If we live only for love without responsibility, we may have warmth, but we may struggle to survive. The truth is, money sustains life, but love gives life a reason. A life without money can be miserable, but a life without love is empty. The richest person in the world is not the one who has the most money, but the one who has both financial security and the warmth of genuine love. So, what should we choose? Maybe the answer is not to choose one over the other, but to let money serve life and love define life. At the end of your journey, no one will ask how much money you had in your account, but they will remember how much love you gave and how many hearts you touched. Because in the deepest truth, love is the real wealth and money is only the tool.